guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over a pretty entertaining article, which is titled, "He Asked Me How Many People I Slept With, I Lied." And guys, this article or blog post is written by a gal who starts off talking about how she just got together with a guy, they've hooked up for the first time, and he asks her about her number. And her feminist little mind goes crazy. And this whole article is all about that subject, once again, about her and other women chiming in about how the number shouldn't matter, a guy shouldn't care, it doesn't define who they are, they shouldn't be shamed, all these things, round and round you go. And you have some guys chiming in there on the subject. And that'll be an entertaining one to go over here because this is definitely a subject matter that makes a lot of people's blood boil. I've seen this plenty of times through articles I've covered, posts on Reddit on the subject, and at the end of the day, and I stand by this to my dying breath, and a lot of you guys agree with me, that a man has the right to know that piece of information. Because just like, really like a credit score in terms of your finances and your level of responsibility, that really kind of shows you what you're dealing with. Because if a gal has a super high number, well, studies have shown that in terms of being able to pair bond, that the higher that number goes, the ability to pair bond becomes less. And if you're a guy that wants a girl to, if you're a relationship guy and want a girl to love you and get married to and a family and all that, if she doesn't have the ability to pair bond because she's been with so many dudes, that's an important piece of information to know. Or about or let's be honest, potential diseases and stuff like that. Now, obviously, tests can be taken, but still, that's an important thing there. And also, no guy wants to be with a gal who was the Village Bicycle, or did OnlyFans, or videos and things outside of OnlyFans. They don't want that. That's not good. So a guy has a right to know these things. And a lot of women, I'm going to get to the article in a second here, but I got to make my point while I'm doing this. A lot of women will say, well, I don't care about him. We don't care about his number, so he shouldn't care about ours. Well, remember, for a lot of women, well, the majority, there's a thing called social proof. And if you have a guy that all the girls like and are after, and usually he's slept with them, and they're all lining up to sleep with that dude because they want a piece of him, to them, they get that guy, and they don't care about his past because, like, hey, all the girls wanted Bill, all the girls wanted John, so shit, I want a piece of him now, and I got a prize. And I don't care if he slept with 165 women because, you know what? I got him. He's the prize. Guys don't think that way. It's completely different. And I might add, men are wired differently. A man could sleep with 165 different women and still one day when he's done, when he wants to give his you-know-what a rest, meet a girl he really clicks with, he could actually pair bond with her. It's not the same. It's crazy. I don't know why the fuck it is, but, you know, nature designed this one way and it is what it is. Anyhow, I've been rambling on here for a few minutes, so I'm going to go into this article here. You're going to see her thoughts on this. A lot of women are going to chime in for quotes in here, and it's going to go back to the whole thing, to her in the end, about whether she tells this guy the truth or not, and the whole thing about this particular subject. I think you guys will find it quite entertaining to hear this, and of course, chime in on whenever you want to. So, it starts off, says here, it was the first time we slept together, and we were lying there in that post-coital bliss when he turned to look at me. So, how many people have you had you-know-what with? He asked casually and calmly, as if it wasn't the biggest F-off question in the world. Red flag officially raised. Well, it's a red flag that she had a red flag over this subject. How dare he? My feminist mind growled to itself. Utterly flawed that in this day and age, a man could have the audacity to even think that such a question was appropriate. I'm 32, for God's sakes. Are we really still doing this? It's quite appropriate. And I like how she said my feminist mind growled. But through my shock and horror, I quietly reasoned with myself. Flying off the handle would surely only indicate a guilty conscience. And in the throes of our first night together, I don't want to figuratively rock the boat. Guilty conscience. Well, clearly something's up here. And I suppose if I'm truly positively honest with myself, I didn't want him to judge me either. Because that's the thing about this line of inquiry. Not all is fair in love and war. The question just stinks of sexist vibes. A 34-year-old Verity tells Mamma Mia, because we all know that men and women are treated differently based on their body count, the amount of people they've slept with. Asking for a number is just an archaic idea rooted in, wait for it, misogyny and purity culture, and it's almost used to shame women for their S-word history. Most men who ask this weird idea that is, most men who ask have this weird idea that it somehow determines a woman's value, and she's not alone in that point. Oh God, where can we go here? Well, shaming, back in the day, shaming was seen as a good way to knock some sense into people, if you will, to actually physically knocking sense into them. How many times when you guys were little kids, your grandma or maybe your parents, when you did something stupid, said, you should be ashamed of yourself. Something like that. When I was a kid, I was like, whoa, shit. That kind of made me feel bad. Because that's what they did. And usually it's something I should have been ashamed of myself. Whether it's something I didn't know was wrong and nobody taught me, but regardless, shaming had its use, and it worked. But nowadays, God forbid you do that, and you're the devil. And we all know, of course, when a guy asks a question about her past, which a boyfriend or husband, future husband has the right to know about, now he's the devil, and it's all sexist or misogynistic and all that. Guys are right to know, end of freaking story. Anyhow, I'm going to go on here. Another one says here, in my experience, Sarah, a 28-year-old female, says, it's a certain type of man who asks that question, and 9 times out of 10, the information is used against me. Well, then what's that? Clearly, that's pretty bad information. Now, as soon as a man asks, I start to lose interest and check out the whole situation. My mind reeled as I lay in bed with him. This is back to the first chick in the story. My mind reeled as I lay in bed with him the first night, debating what the correct answer would be and why he was even questioning me. Then it landed on the scene from American Pie Part 2, where Stifler says, when a girl tells you how many guys she slept with, multiply it by 3, and that's the real number. Such wisdom in American Pie Part 2, and that's absolutely the truth. Whatever it is, guys, they ain't telling you the truth, and you have a right to know. And they all freak out about how dare he? He has no right to know. Yes, he does. For a lot, and a couple of the biggest reasons are pair bonding. Studies have shown that a girl, the more partners she has, the inability she has to pair bond. That's a problem if you actually you're with a girl and you think she's all great, but deep down she has this number that can make Mick Jagger's mouth drop to the floor. And, and that's not exactly marriage material. She ain't going to be around for the long run. And then there's diseases. And then nobody wants to be with the village bicycle. But if we ask the question, we're the devil. Fantastic, I thought to myself, swiftly cutting my figure in thirds. And when he began to suggest brackets, yes, really, I jumped at the first range. Does anybody really want to know why? I once read that asking about your partner's history is a lot like watching a scary movie through your fingers. You want to know what's happening, but you really don't want to know. Well, that's an interesting perspective, but you got to know. And by the way, there are things about a man's past that women want to know about that could determine whether they're with them or not. Really. But it's interesting. You always hear women say, guys, I'm sure you've heard this before, that they don't care, because they don't care about a guy's past in terms of partners and girlfriends and all that, lovers, whatever, then a guy shouldn't care. Here's the deal. For women, it's like social proof. Like, oh, this guy's slept with 50 or 60 chicks. He must be really popular. Therefore, he's a catch. Therefore, I want to fuck him. Seriously. How many guys have known guys throughout your life that every girl slept with? There's a few guys in high school and college. That guy, you all know that guy. I can picture that guy. And I know his name from high school. I ain't going to say it aloud. That motherfucker banged all the chicks. Because literally, it was like, to them, a great honor to be with such and such guy. Kid, that dude's probably still doing the same thing. I graduated high school 30 years ago, but he's still doing the same damn thing. There ain't no way that guy got married. I'm going to Google him later on when I'm done this video here. But the point is they all want to jump on board to be a part of his train. They don't care about the number because that's the reason. It's a prize to them. But to us, it's like, oh, hell no. Anyway, I once read that asking your partner's history is a lot like... Oh, I read that part. So while open communication and transparency are key to any healthy relationship, it has to be asked, do we actually need to know how many people our partners have gone to bed with? Yes, we do. And by the way, what does she have to hide? That's a question. Well, for 23-year-old Georgie, it's a hard no. I don't think discussing it is needed at all, she tells Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia is the blog this is from. because it has absolutely nothing to do with your current relationship. It doesn't provide any information that would be relevant whether you slept with 2 or 22 people. Wrong. And I guess you slept more than 22 people. It absolutely has something to do with your current relationship and your future. And I said my reasons. Well, I'm not going to say it. Here's another one. Shannon, 28 years old, agrees. She says it's of absolutely no consequence. I'm with him now, so why would it matter how many men I've been with before? I just don't understand the need to ask the question. And I'm not sure what type of knowledge people think they're going to gain. All they need to know is I'm safe with any STIs and what my preferred protection method is. Oh, Shannon, you just don't want to accept reality. And I've said it before, there's reasons why guys want to know these things. They don't want the village bicycle, and they want to know if you can actually pair bond or not. And there's more, but those are the big ones. Your relationship is about future, and you can't do that looking behind you. Besides the pointlessness of it all, there's also the potential that opening up your S-word history could create problems in the future, from unhealthy comparisons to insecurities, judgments, and presumptions. Not to mention feelings can be hurt. At the end of the day, 30-year-old Ellie says, it's better to leave those things in the past where they belong. It's none of my business now how many people my partner has slept with, and I think that there are many other ways to discuss boundaries and attitudes towards sex without needing to know a number. Again, I would love to know, have psychic powers, what the actual numbers of these girls who are chiming in this article and why they have this opinion. Because I guarantee you that if her number was 5, she'd have no problem saying 5. Hey, it's 5. I had 5 boyfriends who I cared about throughout my life, and I slept with them, and our relationship. Okay, 5. So, Clip, but it ain't 5. Well, when it's 55 by 20 years old, so maybe instead of focusing on a figure or an extensive list, discussions should center around past relationships. What was their last long-term partner? Have they ever been in love? And most importantly, what are they looking for now? But are there any benefits in knowing? ? While there are those who believe that some things are better left unsaid, there is an argument that getting down to the specifics with your significant other could actually improve your relationship. Well, if a guy actually got a true figure, that gives him the freedom to choose, because guess what? Men are allowed to have the freedom to choose certain things too. You gotta mention that. Whether he wants to be in the relationship with her any longer or not, based on, because that number will tell a man a whole lot about her. For me, it builds trust and honesty in my core value, says 37-year-old Beth. It's a discussion I have in every new relationship that is more than just casual sex, because I'd rather know their number than feel like something is being hidden from me. Yeah, she wants to know the guy's number, but I guarantee you, unless she's really with a rare guy, that number is going to be pretty not shocking, right? I mean, let's be honest here. A good-looking guy and an average girl, you put numbers together, and typically the average girl, if she wants to, can get more sausage than the good-looking guy can get more fish tacos. It just is what it is. An average girl in her 20s can hold a sign that says free you-know-what in front of a bar or a club on a Saturday night, and there's going to be a line of dicks down several blocks. I mean, they may not want their friends to know they're with her, but it can be. But a good-looking guy can say free, a sign that says free sausage, and girls will walk by like, F you. I mean, he might get some gay dudes lining up for him, but that won't be what he wanted. But the point is, yeah, he can get some girls, but it ain't going to be the same. So it's not such a big deal for the guy. Sure, there's risk of being totally shocked, but it really just invites a deeper conversation. Taylor, 25 years old, is on the same page and says, felt completely natural talking to your boyfriend about past experiences. She says, I'm a pretty transparent person, and I enjoy having relationships that are open to discuss anything. There's a lot of silliness involved with sex, so it's nice to find someone you can laugh about it with. Well, he ain't going to be laughing if she reveals the real details. There ain't no way that Taylor here, or anybody else like her, are giving the true details. But beyond the benefits of bringing you closer together, could reliving old flames actually help educate you about your current lover? The advantages of knowing about previous partners is understanding what they were like with other people and what they like or don't like in past relationships, says 36-year-old Melissa. Knowing a person's body count can give you a more well-rounded idea of their life and experiences. Now we're starting to get a little somewhere here. Yes, that number says a heck of a lot more. It's kind of like a credit score. A credit score, sure, is a number, but it tells you a whole lot about that person and their level of responsibility and all sorts of things. If their credit score is 520, that ought to tell you about them in terms of their responsibility and behavior and all that. But if they got a credit score of 850, that says something even totally different. By the way, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, if you have a score of 520, that's really fucking bad. If you have a score of 850, which is depending on what credit agency, it's perfect, and that says something else. Ultimately, all this can help you maintain a strong and healthy relationship. Sounds pretty reasonable to me. So what do men want? When it comes to why men ask that question, I have to ask, is it all in the name of spite, curiosity, or something else? Well, for 25-year-old Pete, there are no secrets in his relationship. Pete, pull your head out of your ass. There's secrets. He says, my girlfriend and I tell each other everything. And it's this openness that makes me feel comfortable about her past. She's also said the same thing about mine. And once you've established those boundaries and expectations, you shouldn't hold their past against them. Smack to Pete. Pete, wake up. There ain't no way you got the whole story about her past. And frankly, I think if you found out, you'd probably have a heart attack. You really want to know about that? That you don't care about the past? No big deal? That you think she's telling you everything? If before you, she had her tongue up many Chad's and Tyrone's asses, is that what you wanted to hear? You think she's telling you that? I don't think so. Very disgusting, but my point is, there are a lot of gals that explore many of things, and they don't do it with you. They do it with Chad and Tyrone. That's what you want to hear? Vince, 34-year-old, also agrees. He says, I think if someone is comfortable to be open about previous experiences, that's a good sign for overall positive and open-minded attitude towards sex, which I value a lot. Discussing these things openly can help us to learn more about what our partner likes or doesn't like, both in and out of the bedroom. Well, you can talk about things that you like and enjoy, but still, yes, the guy should know all these things, but the point is that, well, first of all, these guys think they're getting the whole story. Good luck. Another one, which brings me to another point. Swapping sexy stories can be a huge turn-on, so long as both parties are happy to hear them. Smack! No, thank you. I don't need to hear specific stories and details about girlfriends, what she was doing with that guy or that guy. Purely a number will do, and I can make a decision whether I want to see her or not. 28-year-old Nathan explains the following. He says, just listening to things my partner has previously done can be really hot and exciting. Smack! You're getting turned on by hearing that your girlfriend was with this dude and doing that. Maybe you're kind of a cuck, or maybe you like dudes, man. For me, it's both a very intimate relationship thing and a fun way to get off. There's also a chance I'll learn something about what they're into. Well, Nathan, you better do some soul searching, because maybe you don't just like chicks. But the other side of the fence, it's important to remember that sexual insecurities also exist, and not all men want to know. Well, it's like they don't want to know, but they gotta know, and you should know. This guy says, I would never ask a woman how many people she slept with. Paul, 26, insists, because I know the answer would give me anxiety no matter what that number is. Then I would obsess over it forever. Some stones are best left unturned. Smack! So Paul's the guy who puts his head in the sand and pretends shit isn't going on. No, you need to know, because like the credit score, that is like her credit score. Let's be honest here. That tells you a hell of a lot about her and her character and all that. And like a credit score, well, credit scores will pretty much kind of show you not just who somebody is in terms of how they are responsible with money and borrowing money and credibility, but it's also going to predict future actions. So it's kind of like her number. It's like the female credit score. It's going to predict and show how things may go down the road. I'm going to get some hate on this. If this video takes off and the wrong people watch this, I'm going to get some serious hate. For 39-year-old Connor, he says, we've got all stuff in our past that we'd rather forget. He says, I would hate for people to judge me now on decisions I made as a 20-year-old. That guy was an idiot. Well, obviously our past contributes to who we are. If I'm looking at a possible relationship with someone, I'd rather look at their behavior now as an indicator for what our potential shared future. Well, Connor McLeod of the Clan McLeod, no. You need to know about somebody's past because that really does determine the future. Okay? She could be on her best behavior right now to rope you in. A lot of people can put on a big show and disguise and masquerade who they really are. You know? I mean, come on here. But what do we really have to be guilty for? ? The truth is, at 32 years old, with a single spell lasting the majority of the last 6 years, I racked up my fair share of bed notches. Is my tally high? Yes. Did I have a lot of fun? Hell yeah. And you betcha I don't regret any of it, so why did I lie? That's back to the girl in the beginning. She's 32 years old and she's admitting, racked up quite a fair share of bed notches. She says, I know my sexual history doesn't define me or who I am as a person, and I know it's not a sign that I'm not going to be a good partner in or out of the bedroom. It's just all part of my journey. Okay, Moonbeam, getting all hippy-dippity on me. Part of your journey. What, your dick journey? And maybe that needs to involve a little more self-acceptance. I don't really care about keeping this kind of thing a secret. Celeste, 33, tells Mamma Mia, says there's nothing shameful about it. I think some people feel threatened when they hear the number, so I'm sure why they ask. I'll prefer if no one asks unless they were going to be chill about whatever number that was, because promiscuity shaming is boring. But to be honest, if they can't handle the truth or are hung up on numbers, I don't want them in the first place. At the end of the day, it's important to go with what you feel comfortable with. But always, always know your worth and then multiply it by 3. Yes, they always know their worth. So there you go. The girl from the beginning at the very end is openly admitting, yeah, my number's pretty darn high. But you know what? I'm worth it. And if he has to ask or he cares and he's not the right one, again, just like the credit score, it not only tells you about their past behaviors and actions, but a pretty good idea on the future here. Now, and again, it boils down to me to the biggest two things. The big pair bonding thing. The studies have shown that, you know? And think about it, guys. If you actually are the type of guy that wants to do relationships, marriage one day, kids and family, ideally that if a guy falls in love with a girl, and I recommend you don't, you can love her, but don't be in love with her. You like to know that she can actually reciprocate that. But if the number is so high, she's been rolling the hay so long with so many dudes that is just impossible. You ought to know that. And a guy has a right to know. And then, of course, no guy wants to be walking around with a girl in his arm or wife who was the village bicycle. That's just not a good thing. But a lot of women don't care about if a guy has a big number because to them, that guy was sought after. He was a prize. All the girls want to sleep with him, and I got him. So it's not the same when women say, I don't care about his number, or, you know, it's not a fair comparison. But anyhow, guys, I thought that'd be a pretty entertaining article for today. Again, this is something I like to circle back from time to time when these articles pops up. When these young women, these feminists, get pissed off when a guy talks about that. And of course, God forbid if they're shamed about the whole thing. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know, guys, have you ever been in a situation where you've asked a girl and she's lost her shit about you asking that? Or have you ever had a conversation about this particular subject with girls that you know, friends, whatever, and they all get bent out of shape? I'd like to hear about it in the comment section. Chime away. This is definitely very intriguing. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.